Hello and welcome to my channel, Airborne for Animals. My name is Lydia and I'm an expat living in the Netherlands. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you all of my experiences and answering any questions that you might have. Living in the Netherlands has been a very interesting experience. It's had many ups and it's had many downs, but I've had an overall positive experience. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you what to expect, my own experiences, and my own personal thoughts. If you enjoy this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post. So let's get into it. As an expat, the most important thing you need when you first move here is your residency permit. Depending on where you're from, getting a residency permit has different stages. It's taken me 2 months to get everything in order, have my biometrics taken, and wait for my residency permit. It has also involved tears, tearing my hair out at going to the wrong place multiple times, and pulling my hair out in frustration and not understanding all of the paperwork. The most important thing that you need out here is a thing called a BSN number, and it's quite difficult to get things done around here without one. Especially with COVID, you need a QR code to get into a lot of places, but in order to get the QR code, you need a BSN number. If you end up wanting to apply for citizenship, you have to have lived here for 5 years and have a B1 level in Dutch. Learning Dutch is pretty difficult. At least that's what I've found. I've just finished a semi-intensive Dutch course which has given me a level of A1. But I still need to do another semi-intensive Dutch course just to get to the level that I have to be to have a citizenship. Another important thing when moving here is finding accommodation. Since I'm living with my family out here, I haven't had the struggle of finding accommodation, but unfortunately I have heard a lot of bad stories. Getting accommodation here isn't easy, and it's even harder if you're a student. In some ways, renting a property out here works in favour for the tenants, but the hard part is actually becoming a tenant. The cost of rent in the Netherlands is also quite pricey, especially if you're living in the big cities. Rotterdam and Eindhoven are a little bit cheaper than Amsterdam, but they still cost you a pretty penny. Moving on to a different aspect of life for an expat is making friends. Moving to a new country can be very lonely, and I struggled with loneliness for a while before I decided to put myself out there. Although once I put myself out there, I had such success with making friends. There are hundreds of Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups that are dedicated to expats in Amsterdam where you can meet people in the same boat that you are. Thanks to a sustainable fashion event that I decided to go to, I met a group of people from different countries all across the world, and we are all great friends now. Obviously, every country has different cultures, so you're likely to experience culture shock when you arrive in the Netherlands. The biggest shock for me was how blunt people are here. The way that people speak here is very upfront in comparison to the way that I'm used to back in England. However, it's not always a bad thing, it just takes a little bit of time to get used to, and even now sometimes I still get tripped up over it. This is an odd one, but the recycling was weird to me. In England, we have recycling bins that we take out every week and put them on the road in front of our house on a certain day every single week. Whereas here in the Netherlands, they have huge containers that you empty your recycling into, and I've got 3 separate groups of containers along my road where you separate things into general rubbish, recycling, and cardboard. However, on a completely different note, the weather here is absolutely pants. For about 10 months of the year, if you're lucky, it's wet and it's cold. It can also get so cold here that the canals freeze. However, that is an awesome time because then everyone goes ice skating. On the nice days, everyone has the same idea and goes out to a park, so they can get pretty crowded then. On the same kind of topic, if you're living out here, you want to be able to do things in your spare time. One thing that baffled me when I moved here was the fact that there were museums everywhere. So when you move here, I really recommend getting a museum card. It costs me about €65 and I get entry to about 400 museums all across the Netherlands. I also love how many events they do here. I live in Amsterdam, so I am kind of in the central hub of things. But I've managed to find a new event every single week. Be it a market or a museum night or an event in a nightclub, there's always something to do. And if you ever don't feel like going out, then that's absolutely fine because there's another event right around the corner. Now I'm going to move on to the travel side of things. Most countries have buses, trains and cars. And also I'm sure a lot also have the metro. But the Netherlands also has trams and it has cycling. There are so many modes of transport available, it can be hard to decide which one you actually want to use. If you're going to be using the trams and the buses a lot, then I really recommend getting an OV chip card. What you do with this is you upload money and then every time you get on or off a public transport, you just scan the card. And that's all you need to do, you don't need to book any tickets or anything. However, if you want to cycle around Amsterdam, then I did a whole video on this, so be sure to go check it out. Driving here is actually very difficult. My parents own a car and they've been waiting months for a parking permit. There are 7 parking zones across the city of Amsterdam, 1 being the cheapest and 7 being the most expensive. If you get a year-long parking permit for zone 5, for example, then you can use zone 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, but you can't use zone 6 or 7. So if you do decide to get a car and a parking permit, be sure to have a look at where all the zones are and decide which one would be best for you. Electric cars are the favourite over here and you will pay less tax if you have one of these. On a different side of travel is travelling to other countries. Living on the mainland of Europe is so amazing, especially as a traveller like myself. I can just hop on a train and go to Germany or go to France or go to Spain. For a weekend in Paris, it's costing me about 70 euros in train tickets, and for a weekend in the Austrian Alps, it's about 80 euros, which to me seems ridiculously cheap. And also, I'm not having to fly, which means that my carbon footprint is so much less. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit personal now. I felt super lonely when I first moved to Amsterdam, and I truly didn't understand why my parents loved it out here so much. However, the more I got used to the culture and the way of things out here, and the more I put myself out there to make friends, I really started to love it. There are ups and downs of living in the Netherlands, although not literally because it's a super flat country. The ups include how inclusive the Netherlands is, how environmentally friendly it is out here, and how much there is to do. But the downs include never feeling dry, the residency application making you want to cry, and the price of living out here, and the difficulty in finding accommodation. So this is everything I have to say on being an expat in the Netherlands. I really hope that you found this video helpful, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe and click the bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post, which is on Wednesdays and Saturdays. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment box down below, and I'll be sure to answer everything that I can. Until next time, bye!